Welcome to Reimagine Success on Substack, where we challenge the hustle, unhook from burnout, and explore new ways to lead and live. In today's episode, I'm diving into something many leaders are quietly struggling with: the rising tension at work. Not just stress, but the kind of tension that shows up when you're asked to do the seemingly impossible, like drive better returns while cutting costs and simultaneously protecting your people's well-being. We're going to unpack why today's workplace feels like a pressure cooker and how Deloitte's latest human capital trends report helps us name what we're experiencing, and why chasing balance might actually be making things worse. Instead of trying to do it all perfectly, I'll offer a new frame for leading through paradox and what it really takes to stay steady when the ground keeps shifting. All right, let's get into it. If you're a leader in the workplace today, chances are you're tired. Not just tired in the I need more sleep way, but tired in the deeper, more complicated way. Like your nervous system has been in a tug of war for too long. Like your mind is juggling 5 priorities while your heart is quietly breaking over decisions that feel impossible. If your workplace has felt more tense lately, you're not imagining it. According to Deloitte's 2025 Global Human Capital Trends Report, we're leading in a pressure cooker, and today's leaders aren't just dealing with 1 or 2 challenges. They're navigating a complex web of competing forces that can't easily be solved or balanced. The myth of balance is burning us out. Let's get one thing clear. Whether it's in the workplace or life more broadly, this is not a question of finding balance between 2 competing priorities. Balance implies an equal split, a static scale, a mythical equilibrium where competing priorities coexist peacefully. But in today's workplace, that's a fantasy. When your board is demanding better returns and a significant reduction in cost, how do you balance that with your team's need for psychological safety and job stability? Spoiler, you don't. You actually can't, because the nature of cost cutting creates instability and fear, no matter how carefully we craft the corporate narrative. The moment that optimization, streamlining, or financial efficiency gets prioritized at the top of the strategic imperatives, you ripple uncertainty across the organization. And that's not inherently bad. It is the nature of corporate organisms. But this instability is something that people need to come to expect. Just like the leaves fall off the tree in the fall, companies will inevitably find a time and place, whether annually or every other year, or during an economic downturn or a change in leadership, when financial performance becomes the number one objective. And yes, we all like to believe that every business is a people business, and every business is also striving for growth and at some level financial stability and health. So as a leader, the goal isn't to balance competing demands like a Zen master in a glass office. The goal is to juggle them, to oscillate between them, to understand that leadership today is more like standing on a moving surfboard than standing on solid ground. Oscillation over balance. Rather than aiming for the impossible ideal of balancing people and business, consider this. What leaders need is the capacity for course correction. In some phases of an organization, financial performance will reign supreme, while in other cases, investments in people and culture will take precedence. Rarely, if ever, are they in equilibrium at the same time. It's the ability to move along a spectrum between control and empowerment, cost and care, output and outcome, and know when to shift, when to pause, and when to recalibrate. Deloitte captures this perfectly in the tensions they outline: augmentation versus automation, personalization versus standardization, agility versus stability, outcome versus output, empowerment versus control, and potential versus predictability. These aren't decisions to resolve, they're paradigms to navigate, and navigating them will mean letting go of the guilt of not getting it right and developing the reflexes to respond wisely to what's unfolding. What's fueling the exhaustion? This is why leadership feels so mentally and emotionally taxing right now. According to Deloitte's research, most leaders acknowledge their organizations need to become more agile, yet their people are desperately craving more stability. Leaders are being called to hold 2 truths at once: move faster and care deeper, deliver more and burn out less. And only 6% of leaders feel confident they're making substantial progress towards human sustainability. This is a no-win game if your approach is through the outdated lens of balance or simple cause and effect strategies. It requires something more advanced: high DI, or high decision intelligence, inner agility, and the ability to lead within the paradox, to lead while holding two competing beliefs at the same time. So how do you do this? Stop trying to find a balance between people and business and start thinking about how you calibrate your approach as a leader. Calibration is the quiet leadership skill of knowing when to shift gears, when to slow down, and when to hold steady. Calibration is the inner ability to regulate your emotions successfully, holding tensions without panicking, allowing yourself to be emotionally stable and avoiding being emotionally hijacked or falling into unhealthy empathy and people-pleasing. Calibration is what is required so that you can oscillate between tensions and lead through ambiguity while still inspiring clarity. Calibration is about being attuned to the degree to which you can influence change or make an impact so that you don't lose yourself in the process. It's not about getting to the right answer. It's about expanding your capacity to live inside the polarities, the ambiguity, and the tension. Sounds exhausting? Well, it can be at first, but once you accept that what is in your control and what isn't, you start to oscillate intelligently, reserving your energy for the things that matter, fighting the battles that you can win, standing your ground when necessary, and knowing when to step back and follow, because no matter what you might do, the outcome won't change. Reimagining leadership as tension management. I recall a time during a massive transformation when the leadership team was overwhelmed. There were countless competing priorities, and the organization was in a bit of a tailspin, and people were on the verge of burnout. What people wanted more than anything was clarity, direction, and stability. But the reality is that as a leader, you can no longer offer stability and clarity. And that's because it's becoming itself increasingly rare. Amongst the leadership team, it became clear that we couldn't remove the ambiguity or the competing priorities. Still, we could help people figure out how to eat the elephant, so to speak, how to tackle the big, hairy problems in smaller, more manageable steps, break things down into the lowest common denominator. Were we able to remove the tension? No. Were we able to prioritize so there were no competing priorities? No. What if the leadership success isn't about fixing the tension, but holding it with more grace? What if the real work of leadership is not perfecting a decision, but recognizing when it needs to evolve? Not protecting people from uncertainty, but teaching them how to navigate it? Not balancing every demand, but making peace with the impossibility of doing it all? So if you're feeling stretched, conflicted, or disoriented, know this: you're not failing. You're just standing in the leadership fire at the moment. We're all in. And maybe that fire is the crucible for a different kind of leader to emerge. Until next time, take care of yourself and those around you. In partnership, Nabeela.